We ran the test, there were a lot of fails on a lot of different things. We are behind the wheel now of this £2 million 300 SL, $143 million. I'm going to be getting my hands dirty. This car is quite literally priceless. Literally money can't buy. It is one of two in the world 190e Cabriolet. Hello? Okay, nice. See you there. Guess what? That was Mercedes-Benz Classic Centre in Stuttgart. They saw the last video, they saw that I needed to service the S-Class, so here we are by the magic of YouTube. We arrived at the Classic Centre in the S600, so Mercedes-Benz Classic Centre are going to take care of all of this modern classics maintenance needs. So we've got the car inside the Classic Centre now. There's all sorts of beautiful cars behind the camera, which we will show you in a moment. But first and foremost, the S600 is up on the ramp. We're currently doing an inspection to find out what's wrong with it before we start to work on the car.
Obviously the car passed its MOT in the UK, but that just means that it's safe. The guys here at Mercedes know what to look for, the common places for rust, the common things that fail, to make sure that this car is going to last going forwards. We've given the car a very good look over and we've not found any great dramas so far. The brake discs are getting quite low, they could do with being replaced soon, but no rust in the common places that these cars tend to fall to pieces.
So I've had a little bit of a wardrobe change. You might notice I'm in this wonderful Mercedes-Benz Classic t-shirt, and that is because I'm going to be getting my hands dirty and actually helping Olaf here, who is the very experienced technician, work on the S-Class. So I'm going to get underneath and I'm going to do some things like changing the oil and fitting the spark plugs.
So because it's been so long since the oil was changed, I was worried that there would be metal particles in the oil. Thankfully, the filter is clean. We've also just used this machine to remove and replace all of the brake fluid, again, because I've absolutely no idea when this was last done on this car. Now it's time for a very important job. We're going to drain all of the oil from the engine sump and the gearbox and replace it with nice, fresh, new stuff. That there is a brand new fuel filter which we're going to replace. Remember when I bought this car, the fuel in it was around about 8 years old. It had properly gone stale. So I can only imagine there's all kinds of gunk inside the old fuel filter. So a very important job to replace it.
We're just topping up the transmission fluid. We've got genuine Mercedes-Benz automatic transmission fluid. Of course, all genuine Mercedes parts that we're using here goes in this very interesting funnel. I've never seen anything like it. It looks a little bit like a megaphone. That's one of the things, especially on cars like this, that people forget to do, is change the transmission fluid. Of course, you could end the life of your gearbox prematurely if you don't change the fluid in it. Thankfully, the oil in this gearbox looked actually quite clean and nice. So this is the star diagnosis computer, which we plugged into the car to see everything that's wrong with it. First time that we ran the test, there were a lot of fails on a lot of different things, but apparently that's just because the battery's gone flat at some point and it's thrown a load of errors up on this car. So we rerun the test after resetting everything, and actually we found that there's not that much wrong with the car. So one thing that's not working is the Distronic, which is the adaptive cruise control. Apparently the ECU that controls that has gone kaput, so I'll have to find a new one of those. And then the ESP, the electronic stability program, is also not working, but apparently that's because of the Distronic. So once I've fixed that, both of those will be working. And then finally, the only other thing it's saying is wrong is the, I'm going to try to pronounce this. No, I'm not going to, no, it's in German, I can't do it. There's a lot of German on here. Thankfully, most of the things that are wrong with mine are English. But the PSE is the abbreviation, which is the pneumatic system that runs the soft closed doors, the central locking, the rear headrests that fold up and down, and most importantly, the massage seats. So I actually took that unit apart. I'll overlay some footage of me doing that, and I found that the vacuum pump, the motor inside there, had burnt out. So I need to rebuild that, get a new one of those. Unfortunately, they don't have that part here available with this time frame, but I've got one of those coming. I'll put it back together, then all of those things I mentioned will be working again, and then we'll have a whole load of ticks on this list for my S-Class, perfectly working in every single way, sort of, kind of. One final touch that Mercedes Classic Centre very kindly provided me, literally something that money can't buy. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we are going to fit it in a moment. First thing I need to do is take the number plates off, so that might be a little bit of a clue as to what we're doing. So that's the number plate off. chuck that in the boot for a moment, and I'm going to go and find something that's been left on the passenger seat for me. So this is what we've got, Mercedes-Benz classic number plate holders. The cars in here, SLR Sterling Moss, 190E Evo 2, all of them have got these Mercedes-Benz Classic Centre number plate holders on them. Literally money can't buy, general public can't have these, it's only cars that have been here to the Classic Centre. So let's screw it on and pop the plate in. So plate holders now screwed in place. Sadly, we've got to put these old number plates on them. I'm going to have to hit up retro plates to get some Gayfords, the original dealer number plates, made up. But for now, these will have to do with the big holes in it from where the screws were. Stick the plate in, put the trim back on, and there we go. I can well and truly say that my car's been worked on at the Mercedes-Benz Classic Centre. While my car's being worked on, Mercedes have actually thrown me the keys to a different car. Sadly, it's not the SL73 or the SLR Sterling Moss, but I'm told it is golden. We're going to have to head over to the Mercedes-Benz Museum to see exactly what this car is, because it's hiding over there. But let's go drive around Stuttgart in a completely different car while they finish up working on my S600. So I said that Mercedes Classic had a cool courtesy car lined up for me while they work on my S600. It's a gold W220 S-Class. And believe me when I say that this car is absolutely immaculate inside and out. So now we're going to jump in and explore Stuttgart in the 126.
It's the next morning, all the work's been finished on the car, put this quite cool Mercedes Classic Centre tag to say the car's been serviced on it, but now it's time to look around the rest of the Classic Centre.
So in the workshop at Mercedes-Benz Classic Centre, there's some absolutely epic cars and a whole range of cars. Here we have Mick and Häkkinen's Formula One car. These guys are able to work on these cars, which are quite literally unique. To reproduce parts on this must be impossible. All the way over to a bright metallic red G63 AMG. Moving further down the workshop, we've got the Sauber C11 Le Mans car. Its older brother, the C9, is outside. They'll be starting that car up in a moment, so we'll put in some footage of that thing actually shooting flames from the exhaust. Unbelievable. SLR Sterling Moss, 175 in the world. These are worth around about $5 million each, of course. You can tell if you come a little bit further around, no windscreen. Mercedes were doing this long before the McLaren Elva, the Ferrari Monza, and the Aston Martin Speedster. This thing is the nuts. Moving over here, 190E Evo 2 race car. This is a genuine Evo 2, but it's been stripped out and modified to be a race car, so it is epic. And then next to it, this is even more special than an Evo 2, if you can believe it. At a glance, it might just look like a 190E. However, if you come closer, it is one of two in the world 190E Cabriolet. This is a prototype. Mercedes very nearly made this essentially C-Class convertible to compete with the likes of the E30 3 Series convertible. However, they decided not to make it. But the attention to detail, the build quality on what is a prototype on this car well and truly could be a production car. It is stunning. Next to it, more SLRs. This is the 722. This car is actually a prototype as well, pre-production car, but in every way similar to the genuine production SLR 722. Of course, the more powerful, slightly lighter, more aggressive, more aero, better wheels version of the standard SLR Coupe. And finally over here, this car is one of my favourites. At a glance, it just looks like a very nice R129 SL, but it is much more than that. This is the SL73. It's got the 7.3 litre V12 engine from AMG that, of course, was later used in the Pagani Zonda. So this is a unicorn. So what's in this room is just on another level when it comes to special. Here we have the 300 SLR, the car that Sterling Moss won the Mille Miglia in, with the famous 722, which of course was his starting number, 22 minutes past 7 in the morning. This car is quite literally priceless. Mercedes-Benz will never sell this car. Bear in mind that the 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe, which was very similar to this car technically, Never raced, never won anything, and that's sold for well over 100 million. So how much could this one be worth? Well and truly priceless. And next to it, we have one of its sisters. No livery on this one. I don't believe this car raced, but it is, again, a genuine 300 SLR. This is a car that's actually for sale here in the lobby at the Mercedes-Benz Classic Centre. This is a 300 SL Roadster, and this car is in completely unrestored condition. Patina on the bonnet, cracks on the leather, even got the old Oklahoma number plates at the back. And why is this car nice? This was a barn find, and of course our S600 was also a barn find. Wow, so what an epic experience that was here at the Mercedes-Benz Classic Centre. Not only did we do everything that this car needed, oil change, spark plug change, filter change, ABC suspension, service, etc. We gave this car a good look over, an inspection. We made a list of the things that the car still needs to do. Not only that, but we also got to drive around in this while the car was being worked on and see all of the other insane cars that they work on here at the Classic Centre, such as the SLR, old and new, the race cars, the Formula One cars. What an experience. However, we're not stopped there. We've got one last surprise lined up for us over at the Mercedes-Benz Museum, which is just 10 minutes away. This is going to be good. I said we had something else exciting lined up. It's time to swap one S-Class for another S-Class, but it's 300 SL. That's right, I'm going to jump in this 300 SL now and go for quite a long drive. I'm really excited about this. Okay, so we're inside the 300 SL now. You might notice that the steering wheel is not pointing the right direction. That's because it folds down to make it easier to get in and out over these high sills. So first thing to do, reposition the steering wheel, pull that tab down, lock it into place, ready to drive, pull down these iconic gull-wing doors, and we are ready to go. We've already started the engine. You can hear that straight six, 3 litre straight six, purring away. It's unbelievable to think that in the 1950s this car could do over 160 miles an hour. Actually, in the 50s this was the fastest production car in the world. We are behind the wheel now of this £2 million 300 SL, so obviously we're being very, very careful. But what an honour and an experience it is to be driving the legendary Gullwing. Just 1,400 of these cars were ever made, and around about 1%, 13, 14 cars of those still belong to Mercedes in the classic department, because of course it's super important for them to be able to preserve the heritage and celebrate cars like this. They take these SLs actually every year on the Mille Miglia, so huge respect for them for letting crazy people like me get behind the wheel. So we just pulled off the Autobahn into the beautiful German countryside, this quaint little town outside Stuttgart. There was a little bit too much wind and engine noise to talk to you clearly on the Autobahn, but I have to say, other than the enormous steering wheel, it's a bit like sailing a ship. This car is really quite like a modern car to drive. The brakes are good, the gearbox is great, the engine is super responsive, and it handles beautifully. Bear in mind, these cars weigh barely anything. The tubular chassis that it has alone weighs around about 80 kilograms for the whole chassis. This car was truly ahead of its time. Some more things to point out on this car while we've stopped at this beautiful scenery here in Germany. These here are known as the eyebrows, and they're actually functional. They stop water from the front wheels covering the windscreen. However, aesthetically, they decided to add rear ones as well, just so that it matched. Then round the back, we've got these vents above the rear window. These are always open. This means that when you shut the gull-wing doors, the change in pressure in the cabin doesn't smash out all of the windows. All these little details that Mercedes thought about back in the 1950s to make this thing truly an exceptional car. The sound of this engine above 3,000 revs is absolutely incredible. So we quickly stopped inside the museum to have a little bit of a look around. Obviously I've been here before, the museum is huge, so I'm not going to point out everything, but some highlights. We just went out in the 300 SL Gullwing for a drive, so we can't go without mentioning this one. And then of course, the later 300 SL Roadster. No gull-wing doors on this one, but the roof comes down. And then finally, the legendary 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe, essentially a race car for the road. This car's twin recently sold for a very large number, $143 million. So this is a seriously valuable car. This one will be kept here with Mercedes forever, I should imagine. I don't think they'll ever sell that one. but a very special lineup, all sharing the same heritage as the car we just drove. Obviously we came down here in a V12 S-Class, so it would be rude not to jump into this, the CL600, which is essentially the S-Class Coupe, previous generation 140, 6-litre V12 over 400 horsepower. It is so smooth in here, honestly, I love this car. The seats, the way the engine delivers the power, the whole experience, of course, pillarless coupe. This thing is a dream. One final treat before we head back to England in the S600. This is the W124. You might recognise the interior, however it's no ordinary W124. This is the E60 AMG, so it's got the engine from the SL500, the V8 however increased from 5 litres to 6 litres. This is well and truly a wolf in sheep's clothing. I've long loved this car. I've driven the 500e, the 5-litre version, however this is on another level. What a pleasure to be able to finish the trip by driving this AMG beast. There we go, the car is all done. It looks absolutely sensational. The almond black paintwork in the sunshine outside one of the greatest places on earth, of course, the Mercedes-Benz Museum.